Welcome back to another episode of On Repeat with me, Ellie Rashid.
And me, Hattie Winter.
And me, Luke.
Ooh.
Hello.
We're going to try a live introduction, which is something we've never done before. So it's good to have you here for this bit.
Luke, do you want to try and introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Luke. I am a musician. I'm a DJ, a producer. I'm currently working as a high school teacher in South London. I am gearing up for my debut single release in January. Ooh, exciting.
Yeah.
And I focus mainly on house music, techno, bass-focused music. And yeah, I love electronic music. I love all genres of music. And one more time, I love music.
And you produce under the moniker...
Yeah, I'm under the moniker Lukeozade. So that is important. Yeah. Important to get that out there. If you can't remember my name, it's in the moniker as well. So...
So with your official bio, then, if we're going to be really professional about this, partly just because I want to see your face when we say it and see how you react to it. So Luke is an up-and-coming musician from Northern Ireland. He is currently spinning plates as a producer, DJ, and high school music teacher in South London. Luke focuses on house, techno, and bass music. He is releasing his debut single under the moniker Lukeozade in January.
Indeed, and at the end of his bio, he has the words I'll probably butcher this, go ripe meal meath agat, which I believe is not like Irish for thanks a million.
Yeah, you did butcher it, I'll be honest, but I didn't expect this to make it into the podcast. I regret putting it in now.
Yeah, we like to surprise.
I was surprised. I just said to Ellie, "Go a million machagit." Just thanks a million.
God, I did butcher it. Jesus Christ, that's so bad.
So, Luke, how is it like listening to someone say your bio to you? Because we've never done this to a guest before, and then obviously there's that contrast with you actually explaining who you are. How does that feel?
It's a bit weird. I'm one of those people that finds it hard to accept a compliment. So when someone else is like reading a bio that I sort of helped write, I'm a bit taken back by it. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. How would you feel if I wrote a bio for you and read it out? Should I do one for you?
I'd hate it, Luke. I
don't hate it, but it's weird.
Mate, there's nothing worse than hearing something about yourself in the third person. It's so cringe. It's the worst thing. And so many musicians have to do it. And like actors and well, a lot of people have to do it, don't they? And LinkedIn, that's the home of the third person bios.
You know? It's something you have to get used to. Like you have to get used to selling yourself. And it's something that you're not really taught as skill, is it? How to sell yourself.
100%, 100%. And Luke, this reminds me, I'm going to tell our listeners about this and Hattie because she doesn't know, but this reminds me of the time we were at that art exhibition a few weeks ago. Do you want to explain what happened?
Well, first of all, Ellie is so good at selling me. I think I'm bad. Ellie's really good. Yeah, I need Ellie with me at all times in case I bump into anyone that could be a potential contact. So she can I'm really bad at introducing myself, and I get a bit nervous with trying to make contacts and socialize because it feels so put on and so forced and fake. And Ellie is so good at breaking the ice, and she does this thing. She will immediately break the ice. So ask a really stupid question, and they just look at her like she's an idiot. Like, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Then she's like, oh, by the way, here's Luke. And of course, it's a good follow up. I look good in comparison to that silly question.
I mean, this is exactly what happened. So we went to this private exhibition in Shoreditch. It was like just off Brick Lane, and we didn't really know what we were doing there, did we?
No, I was just excited to get out of the house, after lockdown.
Yes. It's the small things nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. It was like that tiny window where you could kind of go out and places were starting to open up. So we just took the opportunity. And there were basically loads of sort of upper middle class artists, very eccentric kind of looking people.
Used to be around those people.
Yeah, neither. And it was... I'm used to artists, but not the kind of like upper class ones. I was like, all right. So, yeah, you're right. I did say something stupid, didn't I, about someone's umbrella?
Oh, is that an umbrella? That's a lovely umbrella.
Yeah. It was so... but yeah, I managed to kind of like sell Luke. I find it so much easier to sell my mates because I believe in them probably and I know them well rather than myself. So I was kind of like... I was selling Luke a little bit, and they were interested in him being like a private DJ at their amazing sounding parties. And I still think you should chase that up, Luke.
I might, yeah. I probably should. I'd rather they, I'm not sure if they want me. I'm not sure if I'm the right vibe for that sort of party. I don't want to sort of like butt and be like, by the way, we met like a month ago. Can I still come do this? I should. That's what I should do. But I think I feel a bit self-conscious.
It's quite hard to do. And I think as you said as well, it can feel a bit like put on or like a bit forced, and it's sometimes really hard to network.
Yeah, and the other thing is like business cards as well. And websites. I feel like less people have business cards and websites now, and they're just like linked to Instagram.
And I forgot my business card when I needed it.
Oh, you forgot it?
Remember at that time we met the guy. I forgot my business card the only time that I actually needed it, and it would have been really useful. I forgot it.
Do you think it's important though? Because like obviously we met at uni and I knew you when you were playing like the flute, and it's only recently you've got back into your kind of like DJing stuff. Do you feel like it's important to have like a website and a business card? What were the things that you had in mind, and what do you still have in mind for building up your kind of brand?
I think business cards wise, it's something that's directed more at the older generation, like people who are a bit older, who might want to book you. A business card's handy there and there. I think some people really appreciate face-to-face contact and having something physical. And that's what I get with a lot of older people. I think the younger generation, I think SoundCloud, Instagram is your business card.
Definitely.
You don't even need a website anymore. You need a social media page that is looks a certain way.
Good point on like physical business cards. I wonder if COVID will kind of see the end of that, because
that's interesting.
And you have to have something else. Also, I think like business cards, you can kind of just accumulate them. I've been to so many networky mixer things, and they're just like, what's the difference between one business card to the next? It's just got someone's name on it, and how do you know who it was? But I definitely think that like having this social media as like your calling card and your actual work out there to find is way more important.
Yeah. I do wonder if business cards will kind of become this novelty retro thing though in the future. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone who owns like typewriter or I don't know, what's the like a vinyl or something like that, a vinyl player, like just the kind of
that is true.
retro thing.
Well, I think people always appreciate physical copies of items, don't they? Just like people came back to vinyl with such strong passion because whilst music moved to the digital age, we wanted something that we could hold and appreciate and find in a record crate. Maybe when people are making contacts, they're socializing, maybe having that business card will be the little thing that makes you stand out in 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? How do you feel about vinyl, Luke?
Do you DJ with vinyl?
I do. I started DJing on vinyl, and then I moved to decks, like digital decks. I wanted to start on vinyl because I felt I have to understand how difficult it was for DJs first starting out on vinyl. I want to learn to beat match by ear, and I love digging through vinyl crates. I love finding records. I love finding a little gem, then being able to spin it or to put it into one of my mixes. You don't get the same random sets with digital music. You can't find a random record shop from India. You can't find a random record from India in South London and add it to your sets the same way. But I grew up around vinyl. My dad has a massive vinyl collection. He hates electronic music.
He's a purist.
He does. He really hates. He really loves rock music. Like 60s onwards. He's really big into rock music. So I grew up with like 60s, 70s, 80s rock. Yeah, hundreds and hundreds of vinyl copies in the house.
With the rock?
No.
Oh.
I grew up with it. I liked it. I appreciated it. But I, found my own thing. I found electronic music. I found bass heavy dance music, and I loved it. Same with hip hop. I like hip hop as well. I like jazz, and all of a sudden you're able to match these, dance-based music genres and put them together.
Yeah.
And make them match in time.
When you were learning to beat match, or I guess when you were just learning, not even beat matching, when you were learning to play with vinyl, what do you think was the biggest kind of like hurdle to overcome?
Biggest challenge for me was learning to beat match by ear. Just getting used to it, getting used to the touch of the record playing, how much you got to nudge it, how much you got to put it back, and just building up that ear. Just like with lots of musicians, you build up a musical ear. It was like a similar thing. I had to learn to build up my listening skills and really pay attention to the subtle differences in tempo.
Do you think it's made you a better DJ?
Yeah, I don't know if it's made me a better DJ. I don't think it's made me a better DJ. I think it's made me a basic DJ. I'm not. I do what I do. It's definitely helped me appreciate how DJing started. It got me really interested in Grandmaster Flash and how he helped create DJing, and how crazy it was that he was looping records by ear using really old equipment, and how that started off hip hop as well. So it's helped me appreciate hip hop as a genre of music. It's helped me appreciate how it began with the first DJs. And when I watch DJs perform live and do very fast mixing on vinyl, I am very impressed.
It is really amazing to see. There's loads of like archived sort of footage of really big DJs now. I think there's a really good one of like Mark Ronson with like bags and bags, crates and crates of records, and it's just something that you just don't see very often. It's got like a real, I don't know, I don't want to say nostalgia, but there's something so like nice about it to see like a physical record.
I agree. I think you're right to say nostalgic. It has become nostalgic. Every time I see a DJ now, it's about 9 out of 10 times it's digital, and that's not a bad thing. I think we should embrace technology. And if it helps improve our performances and it helps improve our lives, definitely. But yeah, some people want to embrace what we started out with as well. And I completely get that.
I think I always see vinyl as something very special. Like I can buy a lot of music, but if I really like something, I will get it on vinyl. It's like a treat kind of thing, like something to have and something to keep.
Yeah, you cherish it, don't you? If you really put the extra effort into spending, or you put the extra little bit of money into it, and you buy a nice vinyl copy rather than a digital track, then you cherish it a bit more and you appreciate it.
So you grew up in Northern Ireland, right? And I'm kind of interested to hear about what that was like and how your like musical journey started, really, because I would have never guessed all of this from you first time I met you and for the time I knew you at Goldsmiths, because you played the flute. So how did that journey begin? Like, how did that all start? Take us through.
It was sort of not, I think it was non-existent when I was growing up in Northern Ireland. When I came to London when I was 18. I was in a completely different environment. I was in a far more open-minded environment. I was surrounded by people from all cultures and all walks of life, and people that explored music. Obviously, because we went to Goldsmiths together, we were studying music. We were surrounded by all sorts of musicians, and that was a really good thing. It was really good eye opener for me, an ear opener, I should say.
Very well done.
That was cut that on. So yeah, I think I went from this environment. I don't want to put it down, but it is surrounded. It's more conservative. It's more set in its way. You will get a lot of people that listen to dance music, electronic music, of course. I'm from Derry. There's lots of big techno nights in Derry. We've had Drum Code come to Derry. And I think that's great, but you're not surrounded by this same industry, and you're surrounded by, I think, a very small minority of the youth listening to this sort of progressive music. And then everyone else and all the other clubs, it's just crappy chart music, it's just cheesy beats.
So do you wish that you'd gone to sort of study or go straight into DJing, or are you glad that you studied?
That's a good question. Do you know what? I sometimes I wish I studied the pop focused degree at Goldsmiths. And I think it's because I think it would have helped me learn to market myself. It would have helped me learn to look at the music industry more so than the degree I did. I think it's sort of forcing you to become a live and in action musician who's putting themselves out there. They're writing their own music. And it took me to actually start working full time as a teacher to actually say, hold on, why have I not done this years ago? Only now I'm putting my own music out there, and only now I'm actually trying to get myself out there.
Yeah, how did you learn how to do that then? You say you didn't get it from Goldsmiths. So, I mean, if we have listeners who are thinking, how do I get myself off the ground? Do I need to study? Do I need to do this? What would you say to them? Do you think they should just learn it as they go, learn for themselves, keep kind of like gigging, as Harrison, one of our guests, has said? Or like, what is studying important?
I think there's a journey to it. I definitely think, obviously, I'm very classically trained. I studied, a classically focused music degree. I'm a classical flautist. I'm also a jazz flautist and a jazz instrumentalist. And that's played a big part in my personality, and that's played a big part in my music. It's helped me appreciate the complexities of music. And I think I can, bring that into my electronic music as well. I'm able to write, maybe think about chord progressions that are a bit more harmonically complex. And I've always got the flute. I can record myself play the flute. I can record myself play the saxophone. Maybe I'll do some mad remix of some Bach or Beethoven. I don't know. I've got that little bit of difference to your average electronic DJ or producer because of it.
Yeah. Do you use that? Do you sample yourself into your music?
I record myself play flute a lot. Yeah. I'm a massive nerd for the flute. I love it. It's like the most uncool instrument I could play. When people look at me and they find out I play the flute, they're a bit taken back.
What? I think it suits you.
But you knew me from like the start, didn't you, Ellie? You met Flute Luke before.
Flute Luke. Flute Luke.
I think it's such a cool instrument. And actually, funny enough, it's come up a couple of times on the podcast, and people, like, if they could learn any instrument, and they, like, I think they're away from the sort of, I don't want to say common, but like, the piano, the guitar, people are always like, oh, maybe like the sax or like the flute, the jazz flute. And maybe, I don't know, we've also spoken about like Lizzo playing the flute. So I think it's having a little bit of a resurgence and a rebrand as like a cool instrument.
For sure. I wonder as well, Luke, like, how does it feel to be like a male flautist? Because I know that some people do associate certain instruments with gender. Like I know people say, oh, you won't ever find like a male harpist, and I do think it is interesting that especially parents like assign their children to different instruments according to their gender, things like that. So did you choose to play the flute, and how is it being a male flautist?
Well, you're right. There is a gender bias with instruments, and bringing up a male harpist, like you said, I can't think of ever seeing a male harpist.
No.
And that's really interesting now that I think about it. But regarding me and the flute, you're right. Most flautists are female. It's what people think about. But I think it was a bit different at university. There was myself and a couple other male flautists, but there was obviously a lot more female. For me, I think the flute was sort of given to me. My grandfather played the flute, and I remember when I was 8 or 9 years old, going to his house, and he would take out his really old flute he hadn't played in years, and he taught me how to make a sound out of it.
Sick.
And I fell in love with it. I didn't stop playing it since, and it just became a part of my personality and a part of who I am. And I think it was that link with him that kept me playing it.
Kind of like I was getting a bit lost in what you were saying, like when you were saying how much you loved it, and I just thought it was so sweet because it reminded me of when my mum used to play the flute, and she had and still has, I think, a really old flute, and I remember her getting it out, and I just kind of like, when you get that lip technique right, whatever the hell it's called, I just remember being so satisfied.
It's very difficult to get the embouchure for a flute at first, just like lots of other instruments. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, and also I know, because Luke, I know you're never going to say this, but Luke is so amazing at the flute. Like he's so good. Like everyone would say how much Luke stood out. Like not even just on the flute, but like on an instrument. I know how much you're cringing right now, Luke.
I'm trying to practice taking compliments. I'm just not saying anything. I'm not going to reject
another
it.
thing.
I'm not going to accept it.
That's another thing. Like we talk about sometimes. Like taking compliments is really hard. Definitely. But yeah, I just remember there was that piece that we did, Luke, when I think it was like final year, and it was really, really unusual, wasn't it? It was like a late romantic piece by Joseph Marx. I think Danny Driver found it like in the depths of the Royal College of Music's library, and it was so hard. It was so hard. It was.
Some say it has a curse on it, that piece of music.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Because it's that hard?
Yeah. It gives you stress. It makes you, sweat while playing it in front of an audience.
So I don't know anything about the flute. I don't know anything about classical music. So kind of I'd love to know like why it's so difficult. Like what is, I don't know. I really don't. I'm really like amazed by this.
Well, they found a difficult piece, and they found the 3 best performers to give it to. And they thought, guys, if anyone can pull this off, it's you. You're the A team. You got this. And we, I'm joking. I'm only joking. I'm being silly and cocky now. So it was just a really difficult, challenging piece. Very technical, very complex 3 parts that are very hard to play in their own, and then trying to put them together. I think we did a good job, and I'm proud of us. I think we did. We enjoyed it, didn't we?
Very diplomatic answer.
I'm not a better person, but I'm just saying I got the lowest mark out of the 3 of us. I'm not better about it though.
We will write to Goldsmiths and we will demand a recount. You're like...
I think we should. I think Ellie deserves her mark, but just my mark could have been higher. Just saying, Danny, if you're listening.
Your grandfather taught you to play the flute, or at least instilled the kind of love of it, and your father is massively into rock. So you come from quite a musical background, I think, sort of fair to say.
Yeah, I left my mum out. She'll kill me if she ever listens to this. I hope she doesn't. She really pushed the music in me because she loves music. She sang, and I think she dabbled in clarinet a little bit for a couple of years, but she never really pursued music to the same level. Oh no, actually, she started to learn piano when I was like 3 or 4. When I was really young, I remember a piano coming to the house, and my mum started to learn piano or relearn piano. And I remember watching her learn it from a really young age. And from like the age of like 5, I was learning to read music from my mum with flashcards and stuff.
Wow.
That's
so
so
she
good.
sort of instilled it in me from such a young age. I can't remember not being able to read music.
That's so good. Do you think that's quite unique? Because I kind of have like parents and family that kind of see the importance of like music and arts and creativity.
I didn't realize how lucky I was. There's so many parents that want to push their kids to become a lawyer, become a doctor, go down the academic route, and that's not for everyone. You should, if you want to express yourself through an art form, and if you've got your family's backing, that's an amazing thing. And it's not common, actually. Lots of parents will push their kids. They appreciate music, but some people don't understand music, and they don't understand the power it can have on, someone's well-being.
Definitely. Do you, I'm kind of thinking about you being a teacher. Do you ever experience that with the students that you work with, or maybe like their parents? Do you ever get like pushback when you're like, it's not the same as math, science, English, blah, 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 but it's just as important? Yeah,
well, I think with me, I find that I end up getting some of the naughty kids, some of the kids that don't do well in the more academic subjects. Like, they can't sit through a math lesson, they can't sit through an English lesson, but they find this lesson where they can be active, they can get that energy out, and they can do well. And when I ring home and tell the parents that, your kid's doing well, they're a bit taken back, and they sometimes say, you're the first teacher to ring and tell me that. I'm so glad to hear. It's nice.
It's always the music teachers. My music teacher was like that as well. It's always the music teacher, always the drama teachers.
Really?
They always spot they always spot the kids that need that place, I think.
Must be intuition. Must be something to do with intuition. I think it's amazing if it I think teaching is so important, and I think it's instrumental to have the most inspiring music, drama, and arts teachers, really. Like, that's what changes you. I think teachers should just be like that in general, to be honest. But I know like Luke, I guess we have a lot in common, and that's why we're like, you're one of my best mates. But I think something that I love talking to you about is the way in which you approach your music lessons. And I know that you, like me, like to integrate different genre, which is so cool, because I know what your background is as well. So take us through like some of the most interesting lessons that you've taught, and what kind of genres you've integrated.
I've got some. I can't show you it, but I've got some funny video evidence of my lessons.
Really?
Well, I've got. So we have to take videos for evidence for our exam board for Key Stage 4 music, like GCSE. And I was watching back at one of the videos the other day, and it looks like a drill video. It's the camera's like shaking, and there's like drill beats playing. I've got a pupil with it actually has a balaclava on one of the videos as well, doing that.
Oh my god!
And do you know what? He's killing it.
Yeah.
And I was happy about it. He did well. That's him getting better at his craft, and that's what the course is all about. I don't care what genre it is. I don't care what style of music, as long as they're getting better at their craft and getting better as a performer, and they can bring that to the music industry. That's what we're all about.
That's amazing.
How old are the students you teach?
I teach from year 7 up to A level.
Jeez.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah.
Is that stressful?
Yes.
It sounds like such a stupid question. Sorry.
I'm not even 25 yet, and I've found a few grey hairs already. And I'm very fair. I shouldn't be finding grey hairs with my hair colouring, but Yeah, it is a stressful job, but it's definitely worth it. It's I think, shout out to all the teachers out there if anyone's listening. You've got a stressful job, but you know, you make a difference, and we appreciate you, and the kids appreciate you. It's a stressful
sweetie,
job. It's worth it.
Yeah,
That was a shout out to myself as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, big up. Spoken to loads of our guests about having a portfolio career and how having all of these strings to your bow complements different aspects of what you do. Do you feel like your teaching has influenced your creative process?
Definitely. It's made me more organized, and it's made me more strict with myself. It's made me think about how I'm learning things. If I don't know how to do something, or there's something I want to get better at, maybe it's mixing my kick and bass in a track, or it's EQing a certain way, I'll research it. I'll teach myself to learn it in a far more time efficient manner. And it helps me think about what I'm doing in a more practical way as well. I'm able to go back to my performances or my sets, evaluate how I'm doing, appreciate the good things. That's what teaching's really taught me to do, that. Appreciate the things that went well, keep them in mind, you know, for motivation, and then look at things that could have been better. And it's really helped me improve my process.
Sick.
That's a great answer.
I've had the pleasure of singing on some of your tracks, and it's been so nice to have worked with you on a classical level and also with your DJing. And something that I found, because, well, you know what I'm like, I'll just sort of probably sing the weirdest thing and you'll put it together and to cut it up. But I always found that whenever you asked me to sing on your tracks, I always imagined certain colours, and they were different colours for every track, but they were kind of similar textures that seemed to bind together your music. What would you say that your kind of, what colours do you imagine, if any, or textures for your music?
That's a good point. That's maybe, I get what you're saying. I find every time I sit down and produce like a new selection of tracks, it's different every time. And I think sometimes I worry about this. I worry, is it a bad thing that I don't have a really consistent, similar sound every time I finish a track? But you could be right. I'm really glad that you said that you hear like a consistency with textures. It's always quite dense, heavy textures, bass heavy. And I think I really love playing around with texture. When I look at art and galleries, when I listen to music, when I listen to sound, I've always been really obsessive over the timbre and texture of the music, and I'm glad that that's coming through, actually, because it's what I appreciate.
I wonder if your orchestral background kind of inspired that as well a little bit, because you're listening to so many individual parts within an orchestra, and in a way it's no different to identifying textures in other genres of music.
It could be. It might have made me, help me. When you're playing in an orchestra, you can really feel the music climax as all the instruments come in, and you realize how many instruments there are around you, and the range of frequencies is incredible. And anyone listening out there who's never been to see a live orchestra, once lockdown's over, once we're back to normal, I can't recommend it enough. It's a very valuable experience. And more people should go listen to live orchestras. It's not even that expensive, in London anyway.
Everyone take notes for when lockdown's over.
I've got 101 things you can do after lockdown.
Actually, that's what I was going to say. Have you been teaching music in lockdown to your students?
Yeah, so when lockdown first happened in the summer, I created a complete new unit for it. I devised a music production unit for them that I could teach remotely from home. And that was surprisingly successful. We continued to have online lessons every day. I was teaching almost every day. And I was able to teach music production from home, from my computer, through screen sharing.
That's wicked.
And the pupils, all they needed was a laptop or a device. And any kids that didn't have laptops, we gave them school laptops and we got ones out to them. But and it was really great. But you'd be surprised how many kids don't even have Wi-Fi. So many kids that don't have laptops. All they have is a phone.
I was thinking about this. Like, what if you've got one home computer and you've got 3 kids that need to go to school? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, a lot of kids were sharing devices. So whilst one had a lesson, the other one couldn't use the computer. And we can't do anything about the family's income, but we can do something about school funding. And it comes from the government down, how much money is allocated to schools, how many kids are getting to school, getting fed. That's one thing we can think about and make a difference.
Luke, I just wanted to bring it back quickly to the colours, if you imagine any colours with your own music.
Oh, sorry, I didn't actually answer your original question. I got wrapped up in the texture. I know, the colours of my music, I think...
Because I know you're quite visual, really.
Yeah,
you're quite a visual person.
I think it's in the genre of music, when I write a techno track, I definitely see dark grey colours. I see
interesting.
Maybe navy coming through. When I hear really acidy synths, I see green and neon pink. And with my other music, I'm seeing lots of lots of orange, green, blue, purple, pink, really bright, vivid colors that they're quite psychedelic. And they'll come out with some tracks, but other tracks I'll create and they are more monocolor. That sounded so weird. Describing the colours that I see.
It's a really Goldsmith's question, but I like it. It's a good one.
Do you think that those colours would influence spaces that you were to play in, or even album artwork, or the way you kind of put your aesthetic together?
Yeah. I love colourful things. And I think if you're producing electronic music, really colourful things, it's not the niche, it's not the cool thing at the minute. It seems to be with like techno and darker music and electronic music. It's quite, darker colours, it's darker music. It's but I sort of like that. I think in the darkness you can have these sort of like bright colours come through the instruments, through the synthesizers.
It's funny, isn't it, when these things we're talking about, they can seem so abstract, but when you kind of pin it down and start thinking about it, you realize how it really is just kind of floating in your head all the time. And it is so organic. Yeah, amazing. And another, in terms of spaces to perform, I mean, I know it's difficult at the moment because no one's performing anywhere. And I know that you write a lot of your stuff at home. But if you could pick a dream space to do a gig, what would that look like?
Dream space. Oh, I like that question.
And it doesn't have to be...
Can it be anywhere?
It can be anywhere. I mean, I think we've had some people say like in space before, we can get cosmic, like whatever you want.
I think for me, one of the reasons I got so heavily involved in electronic music was my experience clubbing. And I think it was experiencing the light shows, experiencing the feel of the bass heavy speakers like rumbling through your body in an enclosed space. I love intense environments. I love intense clubs. And I think that if I had a dream gig, it would be very light show focused in a big industrial warehouse. Something that's not a club, something that's been turned into a venue. A bit like Printworks in London. Not the same space, but an example of an old factory. It's dark. I don't know, somewhere new, somewhere big, but not too big. Somewhere you can feel comfortable. You can feel part of a small community. That's and heavy focus on light show and sound. Big speakers, big lights.
I actually now realise I miss gigs so much, and I am thinking about Printworks, and it is such a huge space. I don't know what the capacity is, but it's just like mammoth. I don't know, but I do find that it's so funny because it's huge and expansive, and you almost don't realise how big it is until you like look at pictures of the nights, and you're like, wow, there's like thousands of people here. but you can also feel like so like community and small, and like you kind of like you make friends with your like dancing buddies, and it's such a nice, just like you look great it's so good. I think that's one thing like I'm always gonna miss.
Yeah, there's always some guy there that's off their nut and they're just having the time of their life, and you have a chat with them and it's lovely. Yeah.
I swear down, I've met some of my best mates in bathrooms on nights out.
I had a similar experience.
Really?
I don't know what the men's bathrooms are like, but there's always like, no, babe, like you look amazing. Oh, the grim, the women's are grim too.
It was a techno night that had Ellen Alien, Massimo Plex a few years ago, in Printworks techno night. That reminds me of what you said about you were talking about when you look back at the pictures of Printworks, you don't realize how big it is. Just before lockdown, like a couple of days before lockdown, I went to a gig on Printworks and they posted photos, like memes of what the UK was doing, and it was the gig that I was at just before lockdown. It was
it's always Printworks.
Yeah, it was a silly decision. Mixing when I was doing A-level music, our school didn't have a lot of facilities, and when I was in my last year of school, they bought like two Mac computers, and they bought a few interfaces, some microphones, pair of headphones, and we used GarageBand. My task was to record a piece of music, to get used to recording, and then to do a remix of that piece of music for a second task. And I fell in love with it. Using technology to record music and being able to have this creative power over the recording, then being able to remix it, being able to EQ vocals and bring out the mid frequencies of a vocal and make it sound tinny like it's coming down the radio, or really bring out the kick drum and make it sound punchy. And I fell in love with it. And then when I came to uni, I just went down that route.
You just found more and more, because I've only been to Northern Ireland like maybe a couple of times, always in Belfast for AVA Festival. So in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, like Northern Ireland's got a massive like electronic sort of music scene. There's so much going on, but I'm like, maybe...
Do you know what?
Maybe it's just such a concentrated
You're
time.
Right, no, they do. When I was growing up in Derry, it didn't feel that way because I was young, and my friends... Do you know what? People older than us, they were probably listening to that sort of thing, but when you're in high school and you're sort of surrounded by, high school people, they're not cool. They're not listening to like new and progressive music. But no, you're right. There is a growing electronic music scene in Northern Ireland, and that makes me happy.
Like Bicep are like the biggest. I love Bicep so much.
I was listening to Represent Radio the other day, and not Represent Playback, and they were like bigging up Bicep so much, and playing their tracks. They've really blown up. So
good. I was going to make a tribute act to Bicep with two girls that I worked with. So it's going to be three of us, and we're going to call ourselves Tricep. But we never did it.
That's funny.
But going back to what you were just saying, there's so much to talk about. And actually, I did want to touch on remixing, because it's obviously something that you started in your A-levels and you're still doing now. Because if you like go through this, you've got loads of remixes of like really sort of, I'd say like popular, like mainstream hip hop kind of songs. Like
they're silly. Let's not even bring those up. I just get bored and find a track. I'm like, let's turn this Cardi B track into a techno remix. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what is it you look for in a track that you're about to remix, or do you just go any?
A lot of it's experimenting with the algorithms on SoundCloud for me, to be honest. Sometimes I'm trying to get used to it, and sometimes I'll say, right, let's take a really popular track that lots of people are searching for. Let's make it my own thing. Let's remix it. Let's see what I can do with it. I'll have fun. I'm not going to take it too seriously, and let's put it out there and let's see what my insights are like. Let's see what sort of people are clicking at at what time, what they're searching for. So it's been a bit of an experiment, really.
What have you found? And have you remixed WAP yet?
I did, yeah. I did.
That's some wet production
do you know what? That's the sound bite.
Done.
That's the sound bite for this podcast. Wet ass production. I like that.
if you could recommend an instrument to some people in this world who may need some music therapy, which instrument would you recommend? I'm talking about Donald Trump, basically. If you had to recommend an instrument for Donald Trump to calm down, which instrument would it be?
To calm down, maybe a singing bowl,
or whatever. Really, like, what do you think might suit him?
Something that's within his capabilities. Nothing too complex. Do you know what? He's got the pipe, doesn't he? Trumpet. He's got half his name in it.
Yeah. Trumpet's half.
He's got the part when he does that with his lips. So perfect. Trumpet. There we go.
Yeah.
Donald Trumpet.
Donald Trumpet. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's a good one.
Yeah, there you go. And he likes being loud and he likes shouting, so we could just, he could put all that energy into blowing the trumpet. And you know what, with a bit of practice and a bit of determination, he might get very good. He might do a terrific job.
Yeah. I think there's a real possibility there. Yeah. I think on one of our podcasts we asked what instrument do you think Jesus would have played?
Let me see. What instrument would he played? I think.
Can you imagine him on decks?
Slap bass. Slap bass. Definitely. He's got the hair for it. You could just imagine.
Yeah. What? Oh yeah, you're so right. Actually.
What 2 tracks would Jesus? What 2 tracks would really hard to say. Which 2 tracks would he remix? Jesus, what do you think would be his? What would be on his algorithm? My favourite bloody song, I tell you that. So good. That was actually the unofficial Wired song, because that was like the only track we had that would play in the studio. So you'd walk in and that would just be on like day or night. It was always Gabriel.
I think Jesus would remix Gabriel. I think Gabriel.
I'm going to listen to that.
And let me see. Oh, the second one. There's a song I love by Orbital called Satan. It's great. Maybe that one.
I like that a lot.
It's such well thought.
It's a very good combo.
Yeah, you obviously I love how diverse you are with your music, and how like we could probably name so many people, like anyone from like Donald Trump to Rick and Morty, and you could probably tell me with so much thought what they would listen to. But what are you listening to at the moment? Who have you got?
Oh, who am I listening to at the moment?
On repeat.
You know what? At the moment, I am listening to a lot of DJ Pleed's music. I really like DJ Pleed. He is a DJ and producer. I'm pretty sure he's from Australia. And I think he's of Lebanese background. He adds a lot of Lebanese influence into his music, and he produces really cool bass heavy beats. So I recommend, if you like bass music, you like beats, go listen to DJ Pleed. He's churning out really great tracks very regularly. He's on Boiler Room. I love him. I've been listening to a lot of grime recently as well. A lot of grime, a little bit of drill. My flatmate is really enjoying trap wave, and it's starting. It's a bit, it's not my thing, but it's starting to rub off on me a lot.
It does do that, doesn't it? What drill artists are you listening to?
For drill at the minute, I'm not really. Well, I've listened to a couple of Digga D's latest tracks. At the minute, since he's been out of prison, his popularity has seemed to skyrocketed a bit. Who else? Digga D, I like Pines. I'm trying to think of stuff that's been out recently at the minute that I've been really enjoying. I think I've been more listening to grime influenced music. I prefer grime over drill, but drill is the popular genre with kids at the minute. It is very popular.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's all right to listen to. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I only really listen to grime over drill. I wonder if it's like an age thing.
I think it is.
I guess.
I listen to drill.
I remember like the not really the first wave of grime, but kind of.
Do you like garage?
No.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. We all like garage.
That's what. Yeah, that is probably why.
Comes
Actually,
from garage.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's
I find myself
garage
listening to drill. Sorry,
go ahead. I finished.
so I find myself listening to drill more actually, and I think maybe that's because a lot of the people I work with listen to it, so it's more of a kind of like keeping up to date. But then it's like you were saying, Luke, like the more you're kind of surrounded by those sounds, the more it kind of grows on you. And I definitely think that the more I've listened to drill, the more I've sort of been able to appreciate the cryptic nature of it and the simplicity. And I find that like I know it's like the kind of the child of grime in a way, but I do think that it is a really interesting genre within its own right, and all of this stuff is incredibly political as well, which gives it a real wealth of history. And I think it's great to kind of like listen to all of these things without hierarchy.
Yeah, I do. I think drill, a lot of credit towards drill artists because their imagery and their use of metaphor is really impressive. It is quite vulgar. Drill can be very vulgar and very immature at times. And I wouldn't really find myself, appreciating that aspect of it. But what I do appreciate is their actual bars, what they're saying. And my flatmate, he's quite big into drill. He told me, I think it was Digga D was, I think he was like one of the first musicians to be censored by the UK government. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So he wasn't allowed to say certain stuff. His music was actually taken off air. Some of his music was banned because he's talking about like real life crimes, real life murders, quite provocative stuff. And so I think he's one of the, fact check me on this, please. I think he's one of the first people to be censored by the government here. And as a result, you've got lots of street lingo being used, lots of metaphors for, involvement with crime. And it's really creative.
Definitely. I think also for me, I mean, for grime and drill, I mean, particularly grime, because obviously, I know for me, I think it's really resourceful and kind of started off just like people making music. The reason garage called garage, it was all made in garages really, and it was all just like basic pieces of kit. Everything was on phones and passed around. And I think like the reason that the grime BPM is 140 is because that's the default setting on Fruity Loops, which is where everyone was making it, which I think is just like, so it's just like, I just like that people just like made music with no kind of airs and graces. It was just to get something out, and there's something very immediate about it. And actually, it might be good to touch a little bit on your production, because I'd love to know what you kind of do when you sit down to write a track and you open up Logic?
I use Ableton Live to produce my music. I started off first being introduced to GarageBand when I was 17, 18. Then I got into, when I tried Logic a little bit, like a step up from GarageBand. Then at university, I had access to Pro Tools. And so I used Pro Tools throughout university.
That's really hard. That's like a real, I just think it's like, it's
and do you
mad,
know what?
That one.
You don't need to use Pro Tools unless you're like mixing and mastering in the studio. And you're doing very complex things. You don't need Pro Tools. If you're making your own music at home, any of the more simpler DAWs are absolutely fine for you. But I fell in love with Ableton Live because of its layout, because of how you're able to trigger tracks live and build blocks of music on top of each other. So it's got a very sort of accessible way to build your music in the moment and create tracks. I find it really good for writing tracks.
It is very, I don't want to use the term logical because I don't want to get it confused with Logic, but I do find it really logical to kind of look at and like the triggering side. And I think it's got some nice, I want to say plugins, but like, you know how you can like use it for like VJing and stuff like that. I think it works with a lot of other programs, which is really cool. And what do you do first? What's the first thing you do in your production? Do you do the bass first, the drums?
When I'm producing music, you know what? It's different every time. I'll sit down. Usually I'll find a sample or one lip or one sample that I really like, and I put it in the track and I lip it, and I start to build off it. So I usually start with one sound or one sample, one idea. I put it down and I put a beat to it. Once I got the beat, then I start to maybe think about any chords I'm going to use. It all depends if I'm using chords or not. It depends what genre of music. Then I'll add a bass line. Sometimes I'll sit down at my piano at home and come up with a chord progression, then record it in. Sometimes, I've got little synthesizers. Sometimes I'll just be basically just pissing around with like the sounds on it. I'll go, oh, that sounds nice. This sounds very acidy. I like that. I'm just like messing about, and then I record it in. All right, I've done like an hour of recording. I found 2 seconds. It sounds good. We're going to use those 2 seconds. It's a lot of time wasting, but it is time well wasted.
That's all good.
I like that.
And then what's your single in January is coming out? What's the genre? What's it like?
It will be out on the 15th of January. And it's going to be on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music. I've got some records cut as well. So yeah, I'm probably going to be selling the records through Bandcamp. I've only got a few made, so they will be expensive.
That must be so exciting, though, to have like something that you've physically made, printed into vinyl, like forever.
Do you want to see a copy of it? Let me go.
Oh, always.
Yes.
Always. I like it. Sounds good.
I'm not going to lie. I'm very pleased with the artwork.
Yeah, sick.
Oh, wow. Who did it?
I got an artist off Fiverr. So...
No way.
He was very good. I'm not going to say his name. He's mine, not yours.
That's so cool.
Sick. And we'll be able to, our listeners will get to see this because when it all comes out, beautiful. We will be posting it, and we'll have lots of links to Luke's music and the artwork, which I think the artwork suits your music so well.
I'm really excited to hear it. It's so exciting. I always think it must be so nice to make something in such a something physical in such a digital age. So
this will be a
cool.
deep house single. It's quite deep. It's quite. I was listening to a lot of Orbital at the time when I made it, and I was messing around with lots of synths and chord progressions and trying to make the music sound quite liturgical, almost. And after finish mixing it, after having it finished being mastered, I'm sick of listening to it. I've listened to it so much. I want to release it. It's good. Go listen to it. But, I want to move on to the next project. I want to release the next EP. I've got a new EP that's almost finished, and it's completely different, and I'm enjoying it so
exciting.
much.
Sweet.
So your EP won't really be deep house?
It's going to be more. It's going to be more bass influenced music. It's going to be a bit left field beats, bass heavy music. I would describe it as bass.
Oh, nice. How exciting.
Sick.
So,
yes.
One kind of final question. I know it's really hard to imagine, but what do you think he'll be doing in like a year's time? Do you think you'll have your EP released by then? Do you think he'll be hopefully playing out if things are all good?
That's true. The EP is, it's coming on well. In a year's time, it will be released. Definitely, I want to get it out as quick as possible. I'm really happy with it. Once I want to get the single out, then I want to get the EP out, then I'll get the next album out. I want to keep churning out music.
The next thing. Amazing. Oh, wait, actually, one last question before we kind of sign off. Do you do all of the production yourself, or do you have like collaborators, co-producers on it?
So for the EP at the minute, I've done everything myself. For this single, I'll write it all myself. I'll record everything myself. I'll mix it myself. This single, I did send it off to my friend Doug, and Doug mixed it a little bit for me. I needed another set of ears. It was a few years ago, and I just, I was not as confident with my mixing, and I just wanted another set of ears, because when you spend hours and hours mixing something, you start to doubt yourself, and you need someone else to come in with fresh ears and maybe make a few changes. So yeah, Doug did do a little mix on this for me, and then it was mastered by Dom Kirtley.
Right.
Amazing.
Sick.
Well done. Very DIY. That's incredible.
We love it. We love to
You
hear
must feel really proud.
Do you know what? I'm going to practice taking the compliment. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Luke, you have been such an angel to interview, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for keeping up with the technical issues. Never happens to me, but it's fine.
Thank you so much for your authenticity and honesty as usual. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about what you're doing and how you bring all different aspects of what you do into your creative process. It's just a pleasure. I'm really glad that we had this conversation. I know I've been really looking forward to talking to you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed chatting to you too. It's been really nice. It's been really relaxing as well. So, it's quite energetic, but quite, it's been quite a chilled out podcast. Yeah. It's been plug myself. I just go check out my SoundCloud, Lukeozade. Check the single out on Spotify. Give me a follow, give it a like. Yeah. By actually, interacting with it, that really helps me out, and it really helps me out with the difficult algorithms. And find me on social media under Lukeozade.
Yep, we'll have all the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Woo, bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.